Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of China Regulatory Watch, produced by Dezan, Shira, and Associates. We will cover a few of this past week's important news developments and also talk about some items that we're keeping an eye on. I'm Lauren, and today I'm together with Holly. In this week's episode, we will cover Shenzhen's new role for China, opening up of the services sector in Beijing, and some of the business news headlines that caught our attention last week. Holly, can you start us off?
So in the news last week is Shenzhen, a rather singular city in China that is already playing a pivotal role in the development of China's Greater Bay Area and is now set to take the lead. Shenzhen started off as a simple village, and over the span of 40 years, it has become one of the largest cities in China. These humble origins mean that almost every person you meet has emigrated at one point or another to the urban center, many of which came for opportunities or money. Now it is home to many very large companies and tech behemoths such as Tencent, BYD, Huawei, DJI, and ZTE. The city itself has benefited greatly from city planning experience gained from other developing urban areas. The city is spread out and it lacks the density that you get in most other Chinese Tier 1 cities, like its neighbor in the south, Hong Kong, but still boasts impressive skyscrapers, including the Ping An Financial Tower, which is the second tallest building in China, and can serve as a navigation beacon if you are ever without the 5G that Shenzhen was the first to roll out. I was fortunate to live there for 2 years myself, and I tell everyone who asks about the city that Shenzhen's very pulse is entrepreneurial. It seems like every other person you meet has ambition to start their own business, start a side project, or make it rich. And now Shenzhen seems poised to become even more important to the central government's Greater Bay Area Regional Plan. They released a 19-point directive dubbing it a pioneer area of socialism with Chinese characteristics. Shenzhen is to become once again a special economic zone to help the region and country deepen reform efforts. Some analysts think this move is related to the recent civil unrest in Hong Kong. Regardless of the motivation behind the directive, Shenzhen is to be granted favorable policies aiming to make it become a model city for high-quality development, an example of law and order and civilization, as well as satisfaction and sustainability. This ambition reaches all the way to 2050, where the central government hopes Shenzhen will become a global benchmark in competitiveness, innovation, and influence. Shenzhen is set to play a part in the UN's internationalization and is to create a stronger connection between its own financial market and those of Hong Kong and Macau's, speed up the construction of the Shenzhen-Hong Kong Technology Innovation Cooperation Area, work towards giving citizen treatment to Hong Kong and Macau residents who work there, and allow talented foreigners with permanent residency in China to start businesses in the city. The development of the Greater Bay Area region is a priority for the central government, and now, given the goal for Shenzhen's status and development in the short and long term, it'll be interesting to see what favorable policies will be pushed in the city.
If you're active in the services sector, then this following update may be welcome news for you. Beijing has announced a 3-year action plan to open up its services sector and ease control over foreign investment. The city plans to further reform and expand its services industry through 190 specific new measures. These measures will open up 8 fields in the services sector, such as education, culture and entertainment, healthcare, and professional services. Now, I want to touch upon the entertainment field a bit, as in one of our previous podcasts, we talked about the video gaming industry. The entertainment sector includes businesses such as online games and audio and video content performance and production. The further opening up is good news, as last time we mentioned that China's video gaming industry was bouncing back with very strong performance this year. Foreign investors will not only be able to invest in audio-visual production in certain industrial zones and parks, although only in partnership with domestic investors, but they will also be allowed to provide online entertainment content and set up wholly owned entertainment venues and performance agencies. It is important to note, though, that content will be subject to the same standards and requirements for regulatory approval as domestic companies. Okay, now going back to the general update, in the first half of 2019, the services industry made up 82.8% of Beijing's GDP. Easing restrictions and allowing wider access to foreign investors has allowed Beijing to see a growing number of foreign firms settling in the city.
And now, here are a few headlines that have caught our attention last week. Beijing has released a severance payment standard using the average wage of just over 127,000 renminbi a year, to calculate the severance payment ceilings. That makes the maximum severance amount payable just under 32,000 RMB per month. In HR and payroll news, Guangzhou in south of China has created a measure that specifies the scope of talents eligible for tax subsidies. They have drafted a catalogue of high-end foreign talents and badly needed talents, clarifying how to apply for and get these subsidies. And finally, the central bank released a new methodology for the loan prime rate this past week, meant to reduce the cost of funding for corporations in the short term. However, as Trivium China analyzes, SMEs aren't likely to see interest rates budge, even if the People's Bank of China cuts its reference rate, meaning we might have to wait longer than the short term to see what impact this reform has. That's it for this week's updates, and thank you for tuning in. This podcast was produced by Dezan, Shira & Associates. If you would like to find out more, please subscribe or find us on Stitcher. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.